Humans learn through interactivity with other humans. It's just the way we are. When you get older, you often read silently to yourself, but you're interacting with the writer. When the children are younger, that's not at play yet. And what needs to be understood is that it becomes the interactivity with a cherished caregiver that becomes the interactivity, the human interactivity. This is how we optimize those early reading experiences. And this is why, Adam, my books, like Pete the Cat, I Love My White Shoes, or they have the music, right, for the phonological awareness, the vocabulary development, but it's also for the interactivity because now the kids are going to sing and dance with their caregiver. I'll also add in questions. So as you're reading this, you'll ask your child, did Pete cry? The kids say no. That is the interactivity. So the idea was to build in the optimization into the book. As a musician, I would go to places and play, and I would be booked with other people who I felt were far, far better musicians than I was. I just was in awe, right? But then I would get offered the gig again. And I started to figure out it's because I was fun. You know, it's because I engaged people. I got people interactive. I said, okay, I need your help, right? And that's when I started to realize, okay, that this works for performance. This makes people feel good. I've got their attention. They're engaged. And then I started to really, wow, they're learning more. You know, I could teach something now. I can get a message through. I can get a series of skills tucked in there because I got them. And I would get the adults too, you know, and you get them with humor. Like when I'd say, I would remember when I first started, and no one knew who I was, and no one knew my books. And the parents would be there with their kids. They were so exhausted. And I would say, Pete stepped in a large pile of, and then I just pause. And then I just see these exhausted faces look up like, and they look at me and they're like, is he going to say it? You know, like they look at me like he might, you know, he doesn't look, this, is this about to happen? And then I say strawberries and smile at him. And I got him. You know, I got them. I got their attention. I made them laugh. And now they're with me. Right? And I'll say, he sang this song. And I give him the look. Come on, let's do this. I love my white shoes. I love my white shoes. So you get everyone involved. Sit up straight, hands in your lap, smile, crocodile, and clap, clap, clap. Something like this. We can turn our expectations into some kind of chant, right? Then we could have some of those words on the wall. And of course, we're just making this stuff up, so we can change it. Our children can be involved in writing it. And we can, how many times a day do we sing our expectations or have to go through it? In today's world, 5 to 20, right? That's 5 to 20 language opportunities. And I think that as a parent, I realize just, you know, it's just all of a sudden they're there, you're going. And there's no time. We haven't had time to read any books on parenting. You know, there's no time for that. There's no time to read a book on child development and language development. So I just would like to convey to parents, especially those watching, take advantage, just build it into the day. Build it into the day. Sing and chant, use wonderful vocabulary for everything you do. In addition to our primary objective, we should always be building resiliency and building the reading foundation for our students in everything we do. It should be the central and unifying mission of early childhood education, resilience and a basic reading foundation. And we can do that by adding just a touch of reading, language connected to print, to everything we do. So in your math class about subtraction, add a verse. You know, let's say you're learning to subtract 5 from 10. Pete the Cat put on a jacket with 4 buttons and then a coat with 6 over that. We add them up. We've got 10, and he sings my buttons, my 10 groovy buttons. That's if we're doing addition. If we're subtracting it, we've got a jacket with 10 buttons, 5 pop off. What does he sing? My buttons, my 5 groovy buttons. By adding this touch of reading, 1 minute, add maybe 2. It gives your lesson context. It wakes your students back up, right? Gets them moving. There's no downside. For so many of our students, they do not have that reading foundation, and the consequences are serious. America has pretty low reading proficiency scores compared to other countries of a similar wealth. Um, so it's funny to be someone who sings about a cat stepping in strawberries, but feeling inside like this is really important. Like
Right.
we we need to focus on this because it sets them up for success, and the absence of it is stuff like is that. Devastating. But most of my students were simply missing components of their reading foundation, and my sense was because they were missing these components, they struggled at reading instruction starting in first grade. By the end of first grade, they're starting to really not like reading. By the end of second grade, they're turned off, and by the time I get them in third, they're done with reading. And I started thinking, how can we prevent this? Right? How can we help all students have a solid reading foundation? And I began to do research and think about what optimizes the reading experience for young children. And that's when I started to realize through research from the American Academy of Pediatrics and other sources that engagement, uh, interactivity with a cherished caregiver, and a connection to elements that are very similar to music. A rhythm and rhyme. Repetition creates feelings of success. Books that the children would read over and over again were very helpful for the learning to go from short-term memory to long-term memory. And that's the key, Adam, right? We need these important reading concepts to become internalized. And once they are, we can build on them in reading instruction, which begins often about first grade. So I began writing the stories which had components of reading optimization that I was interested in. And of course, also another big key to my books are resiliency. So I combined reading optimization with themes of resiliency. And that's how the original Pete the Cat books began, and Groovy Joe and the Nut Family, and really everything I've done.